everything you and Aaron did to, I don't want to say repair the relationship, but the last 2 years after he, said everything he did a couple years ago. Then he comes out a couple weeks ago and says you basically went behind his back to shop him and he didn't seem too pleased. From your perspective, how did the last couple months kind of transpire?
Yeah, I didn't really take his comments like that, and it's certainly not true. I mean, I think, as we got out of the off season or after the season, and we had a good conversation, and then we're going to have some follow-up conversations. And our inability to reach him or for him to respond in any way, I think at that point, then we just kind of I had to do my job and kind of reach out and understanding that a trade could be possible and see who was interested. But that shopping was never really part of that.
So when you gave him that contract extension, you've said publicly your intention was for him to not just play last season, to play beyond that. At what point did it shift to, okay, we need to move on?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously it was a disappointing season, right? And you come out of the season, you have a lot of conversations, not only with Aaron, but with the rest of the team, coaches, and everybody. And as you go through that process, you kind of get an idea of where you're going to move to, as a team, how you're going to go forward. And I think I was really looking forward to the conversations with Aaron to see how he fit into that. Those never transpired. So, there came a time where we kind of had to make some, decisions. So we went through his representatives to try to kind of talk to him where we were going with our team. And at that point, they informed us they would like to be traded to the Jets.
But you just said you did try and reach out to have those conversations, what you said. Okay.
Many times.
Some
many
good follow-up
times
questions by that guy. You should give him some praise, whoever he was. Good questions. You're usually going, why didn't anybody ask these questions? Way to go, guy. I don't know your name.
Hey, guy, whoever that was.
Good job.
Well done.
Yeah,
Great job.
Way to go. Way to go.
Many
Those are
times
real questions.
is what Gutekunst said at the end.
Yeah.
All right. So Rodgers' version, very simple. Now, he did contradict himself. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
He painted a picture when he was talking to McAfee and A.J. Hawk, and he did contradict it later. But the version he wants us all to accept is when the season ended, Week 18, winning in against the Lions, we lost the game, dust settles, Packers say, we got a spot for you, we want you here. And then at some point, when he's in the closet and he comes out and he's back in the daylight, he finds out they've been shopping him, to his dismay, because that contradicts the message that he had gotten on the way out the door. And he contradicted himself later by saying, well, at some point during the season, I kind of got the sense they didn't want me. So never let facts get in the way of a good narrative. Gutekunst's version is, season ends, we still have to talk to the guy. We need to talk to him about where he fits and how things go, and he's ghosting us. He's not calling us back. I called him many times. And at some point, if this guy isn't going to get back to us and have these conversations we need to have about the future, we just have to make decisions.
Yeah.
That's a very different reality
Totally.
than what Aaron Rodgers said. And I'm not here to determine who's telling the truth or not. We're not the jury here. We're just putting it out there for people to make their own decision. I'm not even advocating one or the other. But if I were a lawyer presenting the case, and if I had to choose between one or the other, I'd rather be the one to take up Gutekunst's case. I think I could make a more persuasive argument to a jury that he's telling the truth. Again, because Rodgers contradicted himself. And I think for Rodgers, it feels a lot more personal than it does for Gutekunst. And it should. Gutekunst is dealing with a constant revolving door of player.
Yeah.
Rodgers has one ride.
Yeah.
For Rodgers, this is intensely personal. So I think at times, and it's not necessarily even conscious lying, I think at times you're so caught up in it and you're so upset about things that happened in the past. You have your bias baked in. As you process information, it gets warped as it makes its way from your ears and your eyes into your brain. It runs through that prism of, I don't like these people. These people haven't done right by me, so I'm going to absorb information in a way that is unfavorable to them. And it's not lying. It's just a warped ability to process, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
So
it does.
that may be why there's two different versions. And I tend to believe, frankly, I said I wasn't going to take a side. I tend to believe Gutekunst.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's personal to Rodgers. You're right. And there's some things there that, would make it sway to – his thoughts or what favors him. And Gutekunst, like you said, he's running a business and an organization there, but at the same time, with what he said there, it does shed some light on the fact that, well, maybe that's why they were sticking it to him here the last few weeks as far as we want a first-round pick, and they got a little personal because they were like, well, we tried to call you for the last 6 weeks to kind of figure out what's going on. You didn't call us back. So I could see that. it makes me think, too, just listening to Goody's comments there, that Rodgers, it was retirement or move on, and he just didn't want to be the bad guy to the Green Bay fan base, so he kind of made it look like it's them and they're the ones that are doing this. Those are the thoughts that go through my mind there, definitely. But, yeah, it's definitely a little peculiar in the fact that, hey, there's a conversation at the end of the year. We have a little there, but let's talk more about the future, and they can't get a hold of them or get in contact with them to discuss that. Well, of course, then they have to start calling some teams just to cover their bases a little bit. And then that sounds where, like, Rodgers got a little disgruntled. Wait, you're calling teams? And they were probably like, yeah, but we've been calling you too, and you won't answer. I mean, if we're connecting dots here. So, yeah, it just seems a little peculiar, the whole thing.
And, it's funny. At one point in the life cycle of the Aaron Rodgers-Green Bay relationship, I thought he was determined to make sure that when the divorce happened, the Packers would be painted as the bad guys. But that was before he did this weird heel turn where he accepts the fact that there are going to be people who hate him and there are going to be people who love him, and he doesn't really care anymore. But you may be right. This is all about not just how he processes the information regarding a party that he has a strong bias against.
Right.
This is about painting a picture where they're the ones to blame. They did me wrong.
Right.
They lied to me.
I got the feeling,
they created a false
sense
impression.
They didn't want me. Right. That's the kind of those are some of the things he said. Right. Exactly. Again, I don't know. I know we're connecting dots here and doing all that, whatever. But yeah, it does seem a little of that is going on when you on the outside looking in right now.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And look, the bottom line is this: we are a lot closer to the trade that is going to happen. The trade's going to happen at some point. We're a lot closer to it happening than we were a day ago. And my instincts, which are often wrong, in this case were right. Having everybody together presumably has sparked some sort of conversation.
Yeah.
Gutekunst and Douglas get together and talk it through. Let's be realistic. Come on, Joe. Come on, Brian. I mean, look, they're all part of a very small industry, and the relationships are critical. You can't go around pissing off all these people with these teams because that may be someone you're asking for a job from at some point. So there is an element of positive interpersonal relationship that goes on among these teams.
Yep.
Let's work this out. Let's move on. We know it's going to happen. Let's just get it done. All right, we're done talking about Rodgers. When we return, how much of a leash does 6 Super Bowl wins buy for you? That might be an answer we get soon. And, of course, it's something we already talked about earlier in the show, but we're going to talk about it again. More PFT Live right after this.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.